difference. There's a psalmist that says the safest place in the whole wide world is in the will of God. And so when you're in God's will, it's a peace that passes all understanding. And I've always known for a long time that I was supposed to be a pastor, and yet it wasn't something that I really wanted to do, because I know it's really hard. I've witnessed my mother pick up her cross every day. And it's not a popularity contest, and especially for her, it was more difficult because she's a woman. And so I wanted to be as far away from that. I wanted to be the next Oprah. You know, something with some fame. It can come with some money. But again, what inspires me is just knowing and seeing God's grace and mercy continue to keep me every day in this process, in this journey, and knowing that it's not about me, but it's bigger than me. And so I'm just a participant in whatever God is doing in this season.
Thank you. That's wonderful.
I guess my inspiration, mainly for entering the life of clergy at a young age, is just the opportunities to sow into the lives of other young people that are coming along, that also have dealt with the scariness of hearing God call their name, and the strength that it takes to say yes. It's one thing to hear it, it's another thing to say yes to what you're hearing God call you to. And so being able to pour into the lives of those that are coming alongside of me and behind me in ministry is a huge inspiration for me. I probably think that would be at the top of my list as far as how I discern my call to ministry. And in addition, I guess inspiration would also be being able to upset the apple cart and to just find new, innovative, fresh ways by which ministry can be birthed and produced, even when it's not popular, when it's not the norm, when it's not what we are accustomed or used to. And so that is definitely inspirational for me, and seeing how God's people are growing in spite of me. And apart from the myriad of inadequacies that make up who Michael is, but still able to see the lives of God's people changing and seeing their spiritual walks increasing and growing day by day, week by week.
When I think about, I guess, what inspired me to start this journey, being a kid who was in church pretty much all the time, I think for me, the inspiration initially came, if I'm really honest about it, was the preaching part. I think that's, when you're a kid, when you think about, folks that pastor, you get this misconception that it's all about the preaching on Sunday morning, because as a kid, that's the time that you see, the pastor figure get up and share and pour out into people. So early on, I was excited about the preaching part. I loved to talk, and I figured it was an opportunity for me to run my mouth. But in running my mouth, being able to share what God was saying to God's people, I think as I got a little bit older and became a little bit more aware that it was more to pastoring than preaching on Sunday morning, I think for me, what continued to inspire me was being able to be a part of people's lives at some of the most critical, some of the most painful, some of the most joyous experiences that they have. When people are willing to open up their hearts, open up their home, open up their lives, and lay it out before you and say, this is what I'm dealing with, this is what I'm going through, and I'm asking asking, would you be willing to walk beside me? Would you be willing to pray with me? Would you be willing to support me? Would you be willing to encourage me? And to know that people are willing to trust you with that, it's a humbling experience. And so the fact that people, I think as Pastor Parker was saying, in spite of me, in spite of who I am, my inadequacies, my frailties, are willing to put that much trust in me, inspires me to continue to share what God has given me with somebody else, that they might in turn do the same.
This panel discussion is also in conjunction with, as stated before, the Wesley Theological Seminary Doctrine and Ministry Studies program. And in it, it's been highlighted that young clergy continue to grow because of clergy mentorships. There have been older persons who have helped and mentored younger clergy persons, to help them along the way. And so the next question deals with the clergy mentorship category. Who has been your greatest influence in ministry and why? Who has been your greatest influence in ministry and why?
Wow, that's such a loaded question. Greatest influence. There are so many to name, but the first name that came to mind for me was my pastor, the Reverend Dr. Alfreda Lynette Wiggins, whom I had the honor and privilege to serve under for 3 years as youth pastor of John Wesley in Baltimore. I say she is the greatest influence simply because, to be quite honest, when I got to John Wesley, I was very hurt. And as I'm sure many of us know, as my grandmother would say, there ain't no hurt like church hurt.
Well.
And I was at a place where here I had accepted a call to ministry, but did not trust those that would come alongside me as colleagues. I was very fractured. I was losing hope in the church, and especially in the United Methodist Church. And she took a chance on this little young, hot-headed, overly zealous little West Baltimore boy to bring him on staff as her youth pastor. And just the myriad of moments and opportunities I had to sit at her feet and glean from her then almost 30 years of pastoral ministry experience, and often the lessons that she taught me without telling me that I was being taught, and just allowing me to find my way. I can remember specifically we had one situation with one of the young people that was dealing with some mental issues, and I went to her with the situation, and she said to me, "Well, Pastor, I guess you better figure it out good night," and walked out the door and closed her office door and got in her car and went home. And here I was in a situation where I was afforded opportunity to grow into that and really figure it out. So she by far would be at one of the people at the top of my list. And even still today, being in my own appointment, I call her frequently just to get advice, to see how would the Alfreda Wiggins way go about handling situations that I have been blessed to encounter in my almost 18 months pastoral ministry.
We'll let our sister have a moment. I guess I would also agree. It's a loaded question. When you are young in ministry, and I guess we're probably the babies in ministry. We're all 29. So, we all 29. No, it's easy. There's so many people that are willing to reach out and pour into you and share words of wisdom. I would probably say, for me, it's a number of people, but I guess at the forefront, over the course of the past, for me now, almost 4 years of ministry, and before, it would be my spiritual parents, Reverend Brian Fleet and the Reverend Jacqueline Jones Smith. who really just both took me under their wings from the moment I left Boston University and was really, I guess, going back and forth, not necessarily with my call at that point, but where I would go to, get my seminary education, was whether I was going to stay in Boston or whether I was going to come back home to Washington, D.C. And I know Pastor Fleet, his thing to me was, you have to go where you feel most at home. And, it's not necessarily home from the understanding of where you live, but home is where your heart is. And I knew that my heart was where I could be most effective, which is where I had been shaped and molded. So that's why I made the decision to come back to the D.C. area. So from that, coming back, he took me to seminary, took me to meet some of his professors. He took me, had time to have some conversations about where God was calling me to share and pour out in the areas of ministry. What I loved was that he was also not afraid to release me to someone else. Oftentimes, when you have parents in ministry, they have ownership over you, as parents do. They take that ownership over you, and they're not really willing sometimes to let you go and grow. And he felt confident enough in what he had poured into me to send me out and allow me to go and get some additional parentage, and I was able to get what I consider to be a blessing at the female perspective of what it's like to be in ministry. I got much of my church knowledge, I think, from Pastor Fleet, but I got the rest of my business acumen about what it means to run the church from Pastor Joe Smith, who had a number of years of experience in government, in private sector, in business that she brought to the church, and was able to give different insight and perspective as to what it meant to run the church as a business, as well as a place for spiritual growth and development. And so, much like Pastor Parker, there are individuals who are on my speed dial when there's an issue that arises that isn't cut and dry. I pick up the phone and I call them both. If I get voicemail on one, I'm calling the other within a minute. They're, I'm saying, okay, Brian, I got Jackie on the other line. I'm just going to conference you in and let you both talk at the same time. And so that's kind of sort of the way I've been mentored and shaped, with respect to having somebody pour into me and help me to develop